All right, everybody, we are back for day 4 of our journey into ICD-10 PCS coding. We are going to pick up where we left off yesterday. And so we are looking at group number 1, root operations, and we're going to jump right into our scenario. In this particular case, we have a procedure of an amputation. This patient had arteriosclerotic disease of the right lower extremity with intermittent claudication for 3 years, which recently progressed to ulceration and is now admitted with ulceration and gangrene of the toes of the right foot resulting from the arteriosclerosis. A tarsal metatarsal amputation of the right foot was performed, and the patient left the operating room in good condition. There is a rule that speaks to the fact that when the incision is taken all the way down to that tarsal metatarsal joint area, that we're going to code the procedure a certain way, and I'll show you that in a second. So, as you know, what we have to do next is go ahead and pull up that code book. And so I am going to, of course, go to the index. So from our discussion on day 3, you should know that because we're talking about the upper and lower extremities, the root operation is going to be detachment. And you probably noticed that some root operations, the page that we have to go to, it's has more options and others there are less. But nonetheless, let's get over to detachment. I'm going too fast again. So remember, always go to where it begins. So I'm at detachment, and detachment of what? It is the foot. Why? Because they went all the way down to that metatarsal joint. So we're going to go to foot, and which foot? It was the right foot. The patient had the disease of the right lower extremity. So I'm going to click on this table here, which gets me over to table 0YS. I already know that my body part is going to be M for the right foot. I'm going to go directly across from that and go to open as the approach, no device, and then the qualifier is going to be complete because they took it all out. Of note, in the guidelines, there are more detailed definitions of those qualifiers for detachments. Definitely recommend that you take a look at that. All right, we are going to Oh, and one thing else I want to point out, when you are coding and you're in a particular table, so you know how I'm right here, you must go all the way across on that table. You can't go up and down. All right, back to our scenarios, and we're going to go right on over to case number 3. All right, so case 3, the patient indication for the surgery was a previous bronchoscopy, which revealed 2 suspicious lesions in the main bronchus. Laser photoresection is planned for obliteration of these lesions because bronchial washings obtained previously revealed a carcinoma in site 2. Here's the procedure. General anesthesia. The rigid bronchoscope is inserted and advanced through the larynx to the right main bronchus. The area were treated with ND YAG laser photoresection. The patient was reawakened and returned to the recovery room in satisfactory condition. So we're going to go to our coding manual, and remember, I'm going to go back to the top, return to introduction, and then I'm going to go to index. So the objective of this procedure was to destroy something. So the root operation is destruction. Of note, as I mentioned previously, you can actually go to the name of the procedure in the index. It may guide you to where you need to go. You can go to the body part. It may tell you a specific place in the body part to go. The more you practice, the better you will become at it. All right, so we have a destruction and as our root operation. And now we have to go to the body part, which was destroyed. And that body part was the bronchus. Now, when you get to the bronchus, notice the specificity that you need to know about the bronchus. Was it the lingula, lower lobe, main lobe, middle lobe, upper lobe? You got to know the things. Well, it was, and let me just bring that scenario back up. It was the right main bronchus. All right. So now I'm going to click on the correct one, which is the 05B. Remember, a table consists of 3 characters. And so the 3 is for the main bronchus right. The procedure approach was via a natural or artificial opening endoscopic. And now I know you're thinking, how come it wasn't percutaneous endoscopic? Well, in the scenario, they actually went in through the larynx. So they were in that natural opening. All right. So from there, we want to pick up 8 for the approach, no device, and no qualifier. All right, we are doing good. Let's go to another scenario. The next scenario, our patient is having a bone marrow aspiration. And for the bone marrow aspiration, the procedure was performed in the OR under anesthesia. Bone marrow studies performed today as the patient is having a Mediport placed by general surgery during the same operative episode, which was dictated separately. You can only code who you are working for. Bone marrow biopsy was obtained from the right posterior iliac crest, sent to the lab. And notice that they use this biopsy needle. And I know some of you are thinking, well, is that excision because it's a biopsy like the other one? And no, it is actually extraction because it's extracted out. So, where do we go? We're going to go to our code manual, back to the top, return to introduction. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And so, we're going to go to the index, and in the index, we're going to go to extraction. Now, someone said to me, well, can I go to like the F's and go backwards? You can, especially when you know, like, okay, I don't want to start at the beginning, right? And so always start at the beginning of that main term. If it says continued, you're not at the beginning. This is so you decrease the errors that you have when you're looking up your subterm. Because sometimes you have the same words in the same area, and it will be confusing if you don't start at the beginning. All right, so now we are at the beginning, and it was that bone marrow, and we got to answer a question. Is it iliac? Is it sternum? Or is it vertebral? And so back to the scenario we go. And let's see. Oh, we got to get to the scenario. Okay. So it was the right posterior iliac crest. All right. So now let me get my code book up. So iliac 07D. And I will continue to build my code, which is 07D R for bone marrow iliac. And remember, go straight across. The approach, percutaneous, because they used that needle to get it out. There was no scope in this case, no device. And then the qualifier is going to be diagnostic because this is a biopsy. Wow, that was awesome. So let's see where we are. We are now at the end of our 12 minutes. And so tomorrow we will jump into group number 2, the root operations that take out solid, fluids, or gases from a body part. See you tomorrow.